Good morning, students. I welcome you all in my science class. Today we are going to study Chapter 5, Separation of Substances. Many things that we see and use every day are a mixture of different things. I mean to say, air is a mixture of many gases like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, water vapors, and many more. Soil is a mixture of sand, clay, pebbles, rotten leaves, some sticks, wood, etc. But do you know, students, that the substances which make up a mixture are called its components. For example, tea granules, sugar, water, milk, they all are components of tea. Students, we have also noticed that components of some mixtures are separated from the mixtures. Means we need to separate them. Like when our early morning mama prepares tea, she used to separate tea granules from tea. Why? Because it's useless. We don't need it. It's just like impurity. We also separate small stones from dal and rice before cooking them because they are waste. They cannot be used. Have you ever noticed somebody churning milk to obtain butter? I hope you have seen in movies or some TV shows, if not really. Okay. Need of separation. Students, if a mixture is made up of various components, what's the need to separate them? Why do we need to separate them? We need to separate them because of few reasons. First, to obtain two different but useful components of a mixture. Student, notice it's two different but useful components. Second, to remove harmful impurities of a mixture. And third, to remove non-useful components of a mixture. Let's see how can we separate these impurities from our mixtures. Let's see various processes. Let's see purpose of the separation. And finally, once we have separated these impurities, what do we do with them? Separate stones from rice. Yes, stones from rice means stones are impurities. And impurities are waste. So, we don't do anything with them, but we throw them away. Churning milk to obtain butter. Students, purpose of separation is to separate two different but useful components. Both are useful, butter as well as buttermilk. And yes, I hope we all love both the components. Right? So, we use both of them. Separate tea leaves. To remove non-useful components. Tea leaves are of no use. So, again we throw them away. Students, let me ask you a question. Can we separate the components of different mixtures by same method? No, we cannot separate components of different mixtures using the same method. So now let's see which methods we can use to separate various components from the mixture. First, handpicking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Students, yes, all these three processes are used simultaneously. And last but not the least, evaporation. Look at the picture. We can find that many grains are being mixed up. Can we cook them as it is? No, we have to separate them. How can we separate? Students, have a look that all the components here in this picture are of different size, different color, and we can easily identify them, we can easily separate them, and we all know that these all components are useful. Hand picking. We can separate all these useful components by the process called hand picking. Hand picking, picking hand, hand picking, picking up by hand. Yes, the term itself explains its meaning. Method of separating a mixture into its components by hand is called hand picking. But this mixture in which all the components could be useful, or it could have impurities also. In both the cases, we can use this process. And this method can be used only those mixtures in which the components are mixed in small quantities. Because if they are in very large quantity, we can't separate them out. And they should be easily picked up by hand. They should not be very small or invisible that we cannot identify them and we cannot pick them up by hand. Have different size, shape or color. All these properties help us to identify components from each other. So, all these things are important while we are opting the process called hand picking. Look at the picture. What these women are doing? Yes, some process is going on, and this process is called threshing. When a farmer harvests his wheat or paddy crop, he gets a large number of stalks mixed with grains. Many grain seeds are attached to the stalk. These grain seeds have to be separated from the stalks, and in order to separate grain seeds from stalk, the stalks are threshed on a wooden board. This method can also be done by machines or bullocks. Yes. So now this process is called threshing. Threshing is the process, as I have explained. It's used to separate grain seeds from stalk, and machine and bullocks both can be used. What if the components of a mixture have different weight? If one component is lighter in weight and other one is heavier in weight. Look at the picture. These two women are doing something. Yes. The grain seeds obtained after threshing contain husk. To separate husk from grains, this method is used. And this method is called winnowing. Winnowing is the method of separating husk from grains with the help of wind. And this method is used to separate lighter particles from heavier particles. Students, in this method of separation, the mixture of grains and husk is taken in a winnowing basket. The farmer stands on a raised platform and holds the winnowing basket a little higher. Then he tilts the basket, allowing the mixture of grain and husk to fall down slowly, shaking the basket continuously. Now you will find that the lighter husk particles get carried away by wind, whereas the heavier grain particles fall down vertically on the ground, forming a heap. Yes, this is the process, and By this we can separate husk from grains. What are they doing? Are they playing? No, they are helping their mother. Yes, they are separating bran from flour. And this process is called sieving, a method of separating a mixture of various sized particles by passing them through a suitable sieve is called sieving. This method can only be used when components of a mixture are of different sizes, because if they will be of same size, both the components will go through that sieve and then this process will not be helpful to us. Look at this picture now. Sedimentation, decantation, filtration. These are three processes which we follow simultaneously. Students, suppose we have some dirty water with us in which sand is being mixed up. How can we separate it? Keep that beaker apart for a few hours. Don't touch it. Let it be stand still. After some hours, you will find that sand, being heavier in weight, settles down at the bottom, leaving water on the top. This water is clear. Of course, we cannot drink it, but it's clear. Now, we can tilt this beaker and pour clear water in another container. This clear water now is in some other container, leaving behind the soil and little bit of water which is not or which is mixed up with that soil. Now this we can separate by using filter paper, and this process is called filtration. That's why I told you that all the three processes are used simultaneously. Sedimentation. The process of settling down of a solid at the bottom of a liquid is called sedimentation. Supernatant. Liquid lying above the solid residue, that clear water, that is called supernatant. Decantation. Pouring clear water by slowly tilting the test tube or beaker into another beaker without disturbing the sand is called decantation. Filtration. Method of separating sand and water using a filter paper is called filtration. Sediment. Substance that settles at the bottom of a liquid. In this case, it's soil. Residue. Substance that remains in the filter. As whatever impurity is there, it will remain on filter paper. That is called residue. Filtrate. Substance that flows through the filter paper. That is clear water. That is called filtrate. Students, now let me ask you a question. Can we separate a mixture of two liquids that do not mix with each other by filtration? No, we cannot separate it by filtration. In fact, if two liquids which do not mix with each other, they got mixed up somehow, we can separate them by the process called decantation. So the liquids which do not get mixed with each other, like the previously I have asked or I have told you, that can be only separated with the help of decantation process. Those liquids are called immiscible liquids, like oil and water. As they don't get mixed with each other, they form two different layers, and by this process called decantation we can separate them. And miscible liquids are those liquids which easily gets mixed with each other, like water and milk, water and tea, water and coffee. Once we add water into all these mixtures, we cannot separate them. Yes, students. Now let's come to the point that when we dissolve a solid like sugar or salt in water, then what happens? Or what do we call them? The solid substance like sugar or salt, they are called solute. Means substance that dissolve in liquid or dissolves in water are called solute. And the substance in which a solute dissolves is called solvent. And mixture of solute and solvent are called solution. Students, now we get solution. But if we keep on adding solute to water, eventually a state is reached where no more solute, salt or sugar dissolves in water. This solution is now said to be saturated at that given temperature. But yes, if we increase that temperature, we can add some more solute in it, because temperature increases, it increases the solubility also. So more temperature, more solubility. Students, we have often listened that water is a universal solvent. Why do we call water as such? Because water can dissolve many substances, solids, liquids, and even gases. It is therefore known as universal solvent. Now, one more question. What happens when a solid completely dissolves in a liquid? Solid into liquid, right? Can we get that dissolved solid back by any method? Yes, students. We have a process which helps us to separate a dissolved solid also from the liquid, and that process is called evaporation. Wow, what a beautiful picture. The water vapors coming out in the form of vapor, gaseous form. That's what is called evaporation, means conversion of water into water vapor due to heat is called evaporation. Students, now I want to ask you a question. Do you know that you can produce salt yourself? Any idea? Think. Yes, here they are doing. This white particle or PPT is called salt. Let's see which process or which method they are following to get this salt. Students, the process by which we can produce common salt from seawater is called evaporation. Collect seawater in shallow pits. Leave it as it is over there. Due to sunlight, water from these pits will get evaporated, and after some time you will find only white substance in those pits, and that substance is salt. Students, if some content of moisture remains in the pit, we will get crystallized salt, but if whole amount of water moisture has been evaporated, we will get powdered salt. Students, it's really interesting to know that we can produce common salt ourselves. Students, I hope that you all have enjoyed this video and learned a lot. All the queries till now must be clear. But students, if still you have some doubts, keep on asking me. I will be helping to clear your doubts. I'm always available to you. Thank you, students. Good day.